Hello, and welcome to the Babe Bulletin podcast, where we talk all things self-love, self-care, empowerment, boudoir, and really anything else that makes us feel like a total babe. I am Alicia. I have been a boudoir photographer for 8 years at this point, and I know a lot of stuff about body neutrality, empowerment, self-care, all this good stuff, and I want to share what I know with you. With Valentine's Day coming up, I thought it would be fun to talk about romantic relationships, how they can affect our self-esteem, and ways that we can strengthen them. But as I was writing date ideas and stuff like that, I was like, oh my gosh, a lot of this actually applies to platonic relationships too. So even if you don't have a romantic partner, please listen to this episode, because I think you're going to get a lot of ideas on ways to strengthen the relationships you have with friends, family, etc. And it's cool because relationships actually play a really big role in our health and our happiness. There was this huge study done in 2023 that actually said people who experience social isolation have a 32% higher risk of dying early. I'm not trying to bum you out, but 32% higher risk of dying early compared to those who are not socially isolated. And participants who reported feeling lonely were 14% more likely to die early than those who did not. And again, that came out in like June 2023 in this journal called the Nature Human Behavior Journal. It was a huge study. It followed people for like anywhere from 6 months to 25 years. So very cool. I'd recommend checking that out. But what we've learned from it is that loneliness can really be a huge detriment to our health and well-being. And when we have strong, healthy relationships with other people, it's really good for us too. It's good for our self-esteem. It's good for our mental health. And we can feel way more like a babe when we are in a great like mental and physical health space. So we want good relationships. If you're in a toxic relationship, especially romantic, and you're being subjected to harmful behavior, that's going to play a big role in destroying your self-worth and your positive like feelings of self. If you are always walking around on eggshells, then you are in this state of heightened anxiety and fear all of the time. That's no good, because those feelings can become really overwhelming and even lead to chronic stress. And that plays a huge role in unhealthy like behavior and cardiovascular disease, and like the list goes on and on. Chronic stress, no good. We don't want that. It can really harm your physical and mental health. And even if you get out of a toxic relationship, that stuff can persist for months, even years after you've gotten out of it. Like individuals can struggle with low self-esteem and anxiety. And then, like I said, that can even impact your ability to form healthy relationships with other people in the future. So if you're in a toxic relationship, not really sure how my date recommendations in this podcast are going to help, you might need something deeper like therapy. Hopefully the person that you're with is down to also go. But if they're not, you may just need to get out of that relationship so that you can find a happy one in the future. When you are in a healthy relationship, you're going to boost your self-esteem. You're going to feel less strength and anxiety. Your mental health will be better. You have more of a sense of security, which is really cool. And you can even foster better communication skills. So being in a happy and healthy relationship greatly contributes to a happy and healthy life overall. You will feel more fulfilled. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be romantic. You can have all of that with a dear friend or a family member as well. I just want to make sure that I want to make sure you have a strong social network, that you have people you can rely on And the dates that we're going to run through are all things that I've done with my husband, and hopefully you get some ideas on things that you can do with your partner or a friend or something like that. When you're looking at a relationship and you're kind of trying to decide whether or not it's healthy or not, I want you to think about trust and honesty. Do those things exist in your relationship? Is there respect? Do you value each other's opinions and boundaries and individuality? Is there open communication? Are you expressing your thoughts and your feelings openly and without fear or judgment? Is there equality, where you feel like there's a balanced power dynamic? Maybe the roles that you guys play are different, but there's still balance there, and you feel respected and you feel heard. And then is there mutual support? So you are there during the difficult times, and then when something good happens, you're able to celebrate that success as well. To me, those are like pretty big things to look for in a relationship, and I feel pretty confident that the dates I came up with foster all of that. So if you are looking for something fun to do with your spouse, with your boyfriend, your girlfriend, or a best friend, I hope I inspire you with the ideas that I came up with today. Like I said, these are all things that I have done with my husband, Dustin, and producer of this podcast. Hopefully as I go through them and he's watching me, he's nodding his head and not like, no, I hated that date, but I feel pretty good that everything I came up with was stuff that we both enjoyed. So the first date idea that I have is to ask one another the 36 questions that lead to love. This was originally something that was put in the New York Times, but you can find them pretty much anywhere now if you don't have a subscription to that. And we took the questions to a park and we sat on a bench, and I think we drank wine on the bench together, and we just went through them. And the purpose of the questions, even though it's called the 36 questions that lead to love, you may not actually fall in love with the person that you're asking them to, like if you do these on a first date or something like that. But it is a fantastic way to get to know the other person a little bit better, actually a lot better, because the questions go, some of them really get into stuff. And even if you've been with someone for a long time, you might be really surprised by what some of the answers are. And not all of them are super serious. Some of them are like, would you like to be famous? Why or why not? What in your life makes you feel the most grateful? And then you can get a little bit deeper, like take 4 minutes and tell your partner your life story in as much detail as possible. You can really get to know someone from 4 minutes worth of their life story. And some of them are like, if you were going to become a close friend with your partner, please share what would be important for him or her to know. I think that's a really good one. So there's 3 sets, and you don't have to do them all at once. I think when Dustin and I did it, we went through all of the questions. What's most important is that you do a back and forth. So you don't want one person to go through and answer all 36 and then the other person. This needs to be a give and take, because you're going to feel more willing to share vulnerable stuff when the other person is also sharing vulnerable stuff. So definitely go back and forth. Even if you only have a couple of minutes before bed, I think they're worth checking out. But I'd recommend making a whole date of it. Grab a cozy blanket, some, charcuterie, a bottle of wine or sparkling cider, go to a park, set up your little cozy area, and just bounce back and forth with the questions. I think they're really fun and interesting, and you do learn stuff that you're like, oh, I have known you for such a long time and never would have guessed that about you. So I recommend the 36 questions that lead to love. And like I said, you can get them pretty much anywhere. Just Google that phrase, and there are a ton of websites that have them listed. And then you don't have to come up with your own questions or your own topics of conversation, because sometimes that's really hard to do, and I have no idea what to talk about. So I recommend those. Date idea number 2, at-home paint and sip night. You've probably seen paint and sip nights at other events, bars, places like that, but I think there's something special about doing it at home, especially if one or both of you are not really the artistic type. it can be a little bit intimidating to go and paint out in the wild. Like to show up at an event with other people and then have your artistic skills on display. I think that's a little bit scary. But when you're in your own home and you're just with one other person, it's way less intimidating. And if your relationship has trust and respect, then you're not worried about your significant other or your friend judging you for your artistic talent, because people in a healthy relationship would not do that. So my husband and I, we just went onto YouTube. We found a tutorial on how to paint like Christmas trees, and it was really fun. We had to pause the YouTube video a lot, but we created some really cute little winter Christmas trees with snow on them, and we have them displayed in our house upstairs. He and I have done the other kind too, where like we went somewhere, we painted on a big canvas. I don't know, I just didn't feel like that was as fun as doing it alone in our house. And we laughed a lot. I mean, we had so much fun that we ended up finding additional like drawing YouTube tutorials after we got done painting, because we just didn't really want it to end. And that was a blast. There was a lot of laughing and giggling and silliness, and it got our creativity going. And I think if you added like creating some kind of custom mixed drink or a mocktail to your at-home paint and sip night, that would get the creativity going like even more. And I also think it's a little bit safer to find a tutorial on YouTube than doing the viral like I paint you, you paint me thing, because I think it's better to both go after the same end results. Sometimes I see those videos where significant others have painted one another and they almost feel a little mean, even if it wasn't intentional. Sometimes I'm like, that feels like a deliberate incompetence from one person. Like it just feels mean sometimes. So I'll leave it up to you to decide what kind of relationship you have with your significant other. But I would recommend finding something online together that you both want to create and doing that instead of painting each other. Maybe at least not for the first one. Maybe you can build to portraits of one another. But it was really fun. My husband and I actually want to do it again. I would love to do another paint and sip night. He actually suggested it not that long ago, so we might have to come up with an idea and do another one, because it was really fun. I had a good time doing it. Okay, date idea number 3. Go and get random coffees or drinks at a bar, but don't know what drink you're getting. Okay, hear me out for this one. You're going to go to a coffee shop or you're going to go to a bar, and you are going to ask the bartender or barista to make you 5 drinks and then write down what they made you, but not tell you what they made you. So you and your partner have to kind of solve the mystery of what you're drinking. When my husband and I did this, we went to a coffee shop. We said, I said, I know this is an odd request, but would you be willing to make us 5 drinks of your choice? And then just on a piece of paper, write down what you made us. And then we took the drinks to a little table outside along with a menu, and we both drank the drinks and like, okay, does this one have almond in it? Oh no, I think I'm getting like coconut. Well, what about this one? This one feels really vanilla heavy. And then we would look at their menu of custom drinks and try to figure out which ones were what. And you could do this at a bar as well. You could do this with mocktails. I think anywhere that serves drinks, it would be really fun to do this. I also recommend not doing this to a poor bartender or barista during a very busy time. So maybe this is not a 7 p.m. Friday night activity at a bar. Maybe this is some other time. Maybe this is an 11 a.m. on a slow Saturday kind of activity at like a coffee shop. I don't think we want to put our bartender and barista friends through this when they're absolutely slammed. But if there's time, if there's not a line behind you, I think it's worth trying. And I know it's a little bit of a weird request, but when we asked our barista, she was so down. She's like, yeah, that sounds really fun. And she happily did it, which was great. Um, it was a good time. I thought it was a blast trying to figure out these like flavor profiles and almost sort of solve a mystery with Dustin. And we got to be outside. It was a beautiful day. Like we were sitting in the sun, we were getting our vitamin D, and it was cool also to talk about, well, what flavors do you like? What flavors don't you like? You know, if you tried something, did you not like it because it had coconut in it or something like that? It got the discussion going a little bit on what we liked and what we didn't. And I think if you like mysteries, I'd also maybe look into those like murder mystery boxes that you can get in the game sections of department stores. I will just say that they take a very long time and they are hard. But if both of you really love mystery and like puzzles and stuff, that might be really fun to check out too. If you're like, ooh, I like mysteries, but I need this to be wrapped up in 30 minutes, then stick with the coffee and the the bar experience, because we're like, I really love a good long difficult murder mystery. Dustin not so much, so that one wasn't really for us, but we had a really good time at the coffee shop trying to like do some sleuthing and figure out what we got. I don't know, I think we maybe got like only half of them right, but it was still really fun to try to work together and figure out what exactly we were drinking. Another game that we've played downtown is called the ABC game. He and I ran around and had to look for letters in the alphabet, starting with A, going to Z. And then you'd have to go and run and touch the letter. So we started at one end of our downtown, and then it was just a race to touch letters. And you could not touch the same letter that the other person had touched. So it led into some healthy competition. It played back to that kind of like mutual support kind of thing where like you're rooting for one another because you want the other person to succeed, but then you also want to win. So that was really fun. And it got us moving through our downtown and exploring a little bit. So if you haven't had a chance to explore a town near you that you have kind of been wanting to go and check it out, I also recommend the ABC game for date night, because I enjoy treating my city and my state like I'm a tourist. And that's exactly what the ABC game kind of got us out doing. And then I don't remember if we went and got food or coffee afterwards, but that would be a nice way to kind of end the adventure. Once you find your letter Z and you've declared a winner, maybe the winner gets something special at lunch. I think that'd be fun. Just in general, treating your city like you're a tourist is a good time. Dustin and I took a whole week off once, and we had a staycation, and we explored Devil's Lake State Park. We went to breweries. We went to New Glarus. I don't think either of us had ever been to New Glarus before. We went to places that, we had just never been, despite living in Wisconsin our entire lives. And it really reignited a sense of adventure. So I would recommend starting with the ABC game and bopping around your downtown for an afternoon and seeing who can find all of the letters in the correct order first. And if you've got a little more time on your hands, maybe a weekend or a whole week if you can take it off, be tourists in your own state, because there's so much stuff out there that you don't even know about. You hear it and you hear of other people doing it and you're like, yeah, I'll get to that. And then you never get to it. So go be a tourist in your own city. My next date night idea, or date day, I guess, DIY spa night at home. Dustin and I have done couples massages at like an actual spa before. I also recommend that. But if you're looking for something kind of like, oh, what are we going to do tonight? It's hard to book a spa appointment last minute. Can't really do it. However, you can run to Target and pick out your favorite face masks and snacks and do something at home. If you light some candles, maybe you throw on some soothing music, make the whole experience feel very spa-like. That's super fun. If you have a tub big enough, you guys could take a bubble bath together, or you could head to YouTube and try to find like a guided meditation you guys could follow together. It's a really nice way to relax and connect. I think the date ideas I've thrown out there so far have been a little like high intensity, a lot of talking, a lot of moving, stuff like that. A DIY spa night, a little more chill, a little more relaxed, a way to just kind of sit in the presence of one another and breathe a little bit. There is a challenge out there of like looking into one another's eyes for a long period of time. I'm not good at it. It makes me uncomfortable. But Dustin and I have tried. So I think that says a lot more about me. He seemed to thrive much better at that challenge than I did. So that's probably a me problem. But maybe adding in that where like you just stare into each other's eyes for a minute. See how that feels. Where does that go? I don't know. But I think a at-home spa night everybody could always use an at-home spa night. I don't think a day goes by where I would turn down a face mask and some soothing candles. Really fun too to do with your friends. So again, not all of this stuff has to be romantic dates. I think a lot of this could be really, really fun to do with a sibling or a best friend or something like that. Speaking of Target, because that's where we went to get our face masks and our snacks. Have you guys ever tried the like random snack, drink, game night, movie challenge? I don't have a great title for it, so maybe you guys can come up with one. But we would walk down the aisles with our eyes closed and our hands moving up and down, and then the other person yells stop randomly, and whatever you're pointing at, that's the snack that you would bring home, that's the drink you bring home. We played it in the movie aisle and then in the game, like the board game area as well. And we had a whole night where we ate whatever, like random, I don't know, I think we found a random pizza. We got snacks from the snack aisle. We had a random bottle of wine that neither of us had ever tried. We bought a brand new board game that night and played that. And then we watched a movie. And I don't remember if we got it on DVD or if we basically played this on like Netflix, where it was just a random selection on Netflix with one eye closed or with both eyes closed, and then the other person randomly says stop. But that was a really good time too. I love the idea of kind of picking an overall, like this is what we're doing, but not having to make all of these micro decisions and just leaving it up to fate. Very fun time. Again, you got to be comfortable with walking around a department store with your eyes closed and your arms flailing about. But if you're okay with that, very fun to play. Dustin and I have done this several times. And sometimes you're just stuck, right? Where it's like, I don't know, a Friday night. And you're like, God, I don't know what I want to do. I don't want to go out for dinner again. I don't want to go to the movies. I want to do something, but I don't know what. I 10 out of 10 recommend this because you don't really have to make any decisions. You just got to pick what store you're going to and let the universe decide everything else. If you do want to actually really go out somewhere and really do something, then this next date idea is for you. I recommend going to the art museum and having Snapchat downloaded on your phone. What you're going to do is go around and take pictures of art that you think is interesting or funny or whatever. And then in Snapchat, you will add a caption and then you'll download that to your phone. And I've done this with Dustin. I've also done this with a friend. Every time I do it, it is so funny and I laugh so hard. It gets your creative juices flowing, right? It gets your brain thinking. Same thing with your partner. And you also get to go out and look at art, which I think is cool. You get to explore and see what paintings you like and maybe learn something new. Who knows? So, hey, educational and fun at the same time. That's a win-win. That's adult version of PBS right there. When Dustin and I did this last time, we went to the art museum in Milwaukee. We spent a couple hours there looking at the art, taking pictures of ones that we thought were fun, writing our little captions, and then we went out for fancy cocktails. And we shared our captions and images with one another while sipping on old fashions and espresso martinis. And it was hilarious. It was creative. And man, it really helps you remember, like, my person is funny. Like, my person is very clever. And yeah, as Dustin blushes and moves his hand away towards me. Yeah, it was a really fun time, and I 10 out of 10 recommend that. My last date idea for you guys, again, something a little bit outside of the box, something that requires maybe a little bit of planning, a little bit of forethought, but is worth it. Perfume or cologne making. I planned this for my sister's bachelorette party, and it was a blast. My sister got to make a perfume custom to just her that she wore on her wedding day. And it got this group of women who we didn't all know each other super well. It got us talking about smells that we liked, our personal vibes. You just get to know each other a little bit better. Like, why are you picking that scent? Oh, you really like that? Why do you like that? It was good. You get kind of asking questions, things like that. And it's great for a group of people. It would be great to do with like a best friend. It would be great to do with a romantic partner. I think if you were going with your significant other, you could kind of get insight into their likes and their vibes. I also think it would be really fun if you made a scent for the other person based on like how well you know them, or even I created a scent, that makes me think of you. So if I think you're a very like warm and inviting person, then, I made you a perfume that smells like vanilla and cloves. Or maybe you're like, ooh, I think you're super sexy, so I made you a cologne that is really like woodsy and spicy. I feel like that would be so fun to make a custom scent for your significant other. Like, when I think of you, this is the smell that I think of. I think that's very romantic and plays into that like open communication part of having a healthy relationship, because then you could kind of explain like, this is why when I think of you, like these are the scents that I envision. I think that would be really fun. Some additional things that you can do just to create a stronger relationship and kind of ensure that both of you are feeling like total babes in your relationship. Dustin and I are pretty good at this, but I think we could both be better. But saying thank you when one of you compliments the other one, instead of being like, no, you're crazy, you're wrong, whatever. I think a simple thank you when your significant other compliments you, saying thank you and just taking the compliment. I know that's really hard for some people. Accepting compliments is really hard, but you don't want your significant other to feel like you don't believe them, right? You don't want to be dismissive of their opinions. And if their opinion is you're really hot, then say, okay, thank you. Maybe you don't necessarily believe it yet, but I don't want to just dismiss the person that I love. I don't want to tell them that they're wrong. So start saying thank you when your significant other compliments you, okay? There's a little homework for you. Also, speaking of saying thank you, just say thank you when little things get done. Oh, you took out the trash. Thanks so much. Just little recognitions of like, oh, you did this thing. Thanks. You made our house a little bit better. Cool. Thank you. That kind of stuff has actually been proven to like extend the life of a relationship. People who acknowledge and have a little bit of gratitude for the actions that the other person took, those relationships are stronger and healthier, and they last a lot longer. So work a little bit of gratitude into your relationship, and just say thanks when they do something. It's really nice. It's nice to hear and it's nice to say. So those are my date ideas. Hopefully there was one or two in there and you're like, oh my God, that's a really good idea. I'm going to add it to my list. That would be so fun to do this weekend, because I've done all of them and I would not be recommending them if I thought they were a bust. Go out and try them. Do something new and report back to me and tell me if you had a good time doing them, because I would love to know. You know what else I would love? If you would follow Bucks and Boudoir on social media. I would adore that. Please. I would love it if you rated and reviewed this podcast. That would also mean so much to me, because it's how we move up the charts. And if you know someone who could benefit from some babely advice, please pass this podcast on to them. And tell your friends, because it's how we grow. It's how we support our community. And the more that we love ourselves, the easier it is to love on our communities and our spaces and our friends and our family and all of that. And really, at the end of the day, that is what we need more of in this world. When you try out one of these ideas, please comment and let me know which one you tried and if it was fun and what you did, because I really want to hear about it. I want this to be a two-way conversation, not just me talking all of the time. I want to know what you guys tried. And if you have a date idea that you really loved and you think I should try it, please tell me, because I am always on the hunt for new things to do with Dustin. Okay, moving on to this week's Babe of the Week. It's not just one person. I'm going to throw it out to a group of people. But those of you who are non-binary and trans, I give it up to you. I applaud your ability to live authentically to who you are. I applaud the courage. I find inspiration in the lives that you are living. And I know things right now suck and they're hard. And I can't really even imagine what you might be thinking. But just know there are people out there who think you guys are awesome. And you're total babes for living an authentic life in a world and a culture and a government that does not want you to. So I don't know. I wish I had more to say. I wish I could just fix everything, but I can't. So please know that you do have support and you have love and you are out there just crushing it, even if it doesn't feel that way. You have all of my empathy, all of my support, and you guys are doing a good job, even if it doesn't feel like it. So that's why trans and non-binary babes are my babe of the week, because stuff right now is really hard for that demographic, and they're not going to let it stop them. And I don't think what could be more babely and empowering than that. Thank you again for listening. I appreciate everyone who tunes in and checks out what we're making over here at Bucks and Boudoir. I'll leave you with the reminder that I love to leave you with, which is that your body is a good body. I want you to be kind to yourselves, okay? Be a little nicer to yourselves. You deserve it, okay? Have a beautiful rest of the weekend. We'll talk again soon. Bye.